Hi, everybody, and welcome to our very first webinar on how to create an assessment to scale your business. My name is Anna, and I'm here today with one of our wonderful customers, Burnett, the founder of a company called ThinkMoveThrive. So let's get started and dive right in.
Our own custom Enneagram assessment, and that's kind of what led us to that point. So we were just looking for some tool that we could take all this knowledge that we had developed and put in, and slide it into the Enneagram, into the platform that we could use it. So.
Okay, well, you're a lucky man, Dallas.
I am very lucky. Absolutely.
All right. So your assessment is basically like a product that you're using in your business, right?
So let's talk about that for a second, because there's a lot of different ways that, we were working with a marketing company, and they were saying, look, we need to get this. Actually, I was being advised by this potential marketing company. Look, you need to do an assessment, but the assessment needs to be this kind of like questionnaire that you can put out on all the social media things, and they can take that and then you'll get, leads, it's essentially use it as a lead generator, which I think is fantastic. That is great. If you have a very good assessment that people are interested in getting those results from, and you want to use it as a lead generator, I think it's fantastic. For us, we already had an end use for it. We already had clients for it. We knew that these workshops were going to be launching. So for us, it wasn't necessarily a front end lead generator. It was kind of like more as that product. So when you think about an assessment as a product, it is like the Enneagram assessment. And that is the value. So if you buy an assessment, you get the $20, you get the assessment back, the report back, whatever. Also, what we're looking at, and we can talk about this later, but there's that whole other function where it's not like necessarily a lead generator, and it's not necessarily a line item product, but it's something that supports insights into a much larger product, which is probably what we're going to be moving to as we get into more consulting with organizations and things like that. Having an assessment as a tool, a knowledge tool that we can give you and partner with you with the information that we generate off that assessment to better consult or offer you solutions based on the results that come back in from the assessment. But for us, we're using it as a line item product. So if you go to buy the Enneagram assessment, it's $19.95. If you want the full report, you get the initial information in your type for free. So if you want to just see what you are and get a general idea of it, it's totally free. If you want to dive into some really great content and see all our little Enneagram characters running around on the report, then that costs a couple bucks.
I love those. And by the way, just about the whole setup that you have. So you also use the paywall on Pointerpro, right?
Yes,
so everything
absolutely.
goes through Pointerpro.
Yeah, it does go through Pointerpro, and that makes it easy. Pointerpro just essentially was able to integrate with Stripe, because I use Stripe on our application on our iPhone app and also in the website. So it was it's very great. It was a no-brainer to use Pointerpro on the backside to just integrate with Stripe directly and it dropping in there. So that's a very good, very quick integration, pretty seamless. So it makes it easy. And this is the worst part. Like this webinar comes at we're literally revamping our Enneagram website, the whole page of the assessments because of Pointerpro, because of how good it's going. We were like, we just need to clear this out. So I just went in last week and just deleted everything on that website except for this little thing that says Enneagram, and we're going back and putting all this stuff in next week. And of course we do the webinar this week. But if you hang tight looking at it, if you see ThinkMoveThrive and do assessments, it'll look nice and pretty next week with all this stuff. But this week,
don't look at it until next
week.
The
Enneagram. You can still take the assessment, but it's not. There's no bells and whistles this week. It's just the Enneagram.
No, but that's great. Now we're happy that we could, we're able to help you actually, realize all your plans and develop your project. Absolutely. And also that we are going to take part in, going forward on that as well.
And I would say this too. Let me tell you this, because I think this is something that's your listeners may, find interesting. And I'll talk a little bit about the process, right? So I had no experience in building an assessment before I came to Pointerpro. I'd not done this before. I didn't have PhD in assessment building or anything like that. And so what's interesting is that your platform is very easy to use, but even still, there's some nuance to assessment, building that I didn't realize until I got into it, and about the questioning and the weights and different things like that you have a lot of flexibility and control over. One of the things that I was concerned about, and maybe somebody on this webinar would be concerned about, is when I get into this, is it going to be too difficult for me to build an assessment? Like, how does that work? And so I would say a couple of things that were very helpful to me as I was going in this journey of getting out my first assessment and getting it set up. Number one was you've got a lot of demo or like template assessments that's in Pointerpro. And so the first thing I did, just messing around, I was just like, all right, load me a template. And then I could see how that assessment flowed and how it worked. And that was really helpful to answer some of the questions that I had working through it. Like, would I want mine to be set up like this? Would I not? How would I change? Could I just use this template, or is this great, and I could play with it in a full assessment form without having to construct it myself from scratch, not knowing what the end product would be when I started. So that was huge. The second thing that was really big for me as someone that was trying to get into assessment building was your FAQ section or help section is extremely robust. You guys, I can tell you've put a tremendous amount of time and effort into it, because the support team, shout out to the support team, because here's when the support teams put a lot of effort in on the front side to be proactive. When I would email support and say, here's my problem. This is what I've run up against something that I just don't know how to do this. I want to do this. It's doing this. How do I bring those together? The first thing they would do is they would even call me. They would send me a link and they'd say, here's the answer to your question. And it would be like a whole page of exactly what I needed. And after a while, I could figure out how to search for that. And I didn't even call the support team as much. So that, and if for some reason, I read the page and I was like, that's close, but I'm still having this issue. They're Johnny on the spot. They're ready to go. And they engaged with me at that level and took it on. So I would say the support that you guys have is pretty impressive. At least to this point, our experience has been really good. So shout out to the support team.
Yeah, go Lilana and Sepa and Karina. So, and what is the next point that you had in your checklist? Let's say before.
So checklist. So what we wanted to do when we first started building this assessment is create something that obviously we knew what our end goal was. We were trying to create something that had value to a user, that they could go and purchase in and part of a workshop, and add value to them. So for us, we kind of knew about the Enneagram. We knew kind of ideas of how we wanted to structure that. And I think if anybody's going into building an assessment, you need to be real clear on your end goals in the beginning. Is this assessment going to be lead generation? Is it going to be a product itself? Is it going to be something that supports a bigger product? I think as part of that checklist, when you're starting, you want to really flesh out the data as much as you can. And some of this we did intuitively, and others. I mean, like I'm an old school. I guess I'm old school. I don't know, but I'm just like I'll dropped it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I've got weighted numbers and things like that. And I kind of set the whole thing up. Yeah. So I set the whole thing up in Excel so I could see how everything kind of fit together. The other thing I would say is that you need to really make yourself aware of the capabilities of the system. One of the things that I had to learn as I got into using Pointerpro was I had no idea of the different options, like how many different options you guys give in terms of formulating questions and answers and what types of questions. So it just kind of almost was overwhelming when I first started, because I had my Excel spreadsheet, but then you've got these amazing options here. And I was like, ooh, it's like new and shining things. I was like, should I be using some of those? Like that's a cool way to ask a question. That's a cool way to generate an answer. So really understanding the capabilities of Pointerpro is looking at some of the examples. You guys have great videos on some different assessment types and different ways to ask questions and things like that. Even in the help section, it's really good for you to know, because you don't know what you don't know. And there was some things that once I got into Pointerpro, I had laid it out a certain way in my Excel spreadsheet, But then when I saw these new options, I was like, oh, nope, that's definitely what I want to do. So the more clarity you can have around that, I think from a checklist standpoint, the better. And really giving yourself some timeline. I always like having a deadline, because if I create something, if I'm creating, whether it's assessment or writing a book, if I don't have some deadline that I'm working towards to say, I'm going to have this thing out by this date. Now for us, the funny thing is we had a workshop that we were doing, and it was like set in stone. And so this assessment had to be ready for that workshop. So there was no turning back. It was like, yeah, we got to have this thing done by X number of days before that workshop. So it was really good for us, because it helped us drive time and energy towards the creating assessment. But those are some of the things that I would say from a checklist standpoint. That's kind of what we were looking at.
But I think one of the questions that also our viewers could have, I think if you have any questions, by the way, you can just leave comments, and Dallas and me would be happy to answer them. But what about the design? Did you have the design of the assessment in mind before you started creating it, or did it just come to you while you were doing it?
That's a great question. So from a design standpoint, I think we knew that there were going to be, so there's 9 different Enneagram types, right? So there was 9 types. So our biggest like initial goal, like the first thing that you wanted to do was to get those results in. So like my wife, it was like writing a book, because if each of the 9 have 12 or 13 pages that are associated with them, you're looking at well over 100 pages that you've got to write of content. And then as you get into that content, you're starting to see other assessments and how they do it, and then you've got your own way. We like a team focus, so our assessment has a team component to it that we haven't seen in a lot of other assessments. And so you're starting to see that. So for us, it was an iterative process. We knew we needed a baseline set of content for each of the types, the 9 types, before we ever started the Enneagram, before we ever got started. So we knew we've got to have this base. But as we got into it and really started developing it out and started to see each of those 9 types and started adding our own spin on it, that content shifted and morphed and changed. And so while I'm setting up the assessment in Pointerpro, my wife is writing all these pages and things are starting to change. At the same time, we just had an idea, and I will give this to my wife. I have, actually, you can see it in the background. That little poster right there has this, the little person on it. And we had that poster for years. I've had it for a long time. It has these different scenes with this person in it. It's more of a coaching poster. And she walked in one day, because we were talking about, like, how do we make this Enneagram like assessment our own? And that was one of the things I would say, if you're building an assessment, I mean, it's great to have an assessment that has good questions and stuff, but man, like, be creative, like put some effort into this thing and make your assessment your own, make it unique, and put the effort in on the design side to make it, say what you're going to say, make it sing. Because there's plenty of people out there that's going to post an assessment to try to get your attention. Be different, be unique. So I would encourage everybody that. So for us, we took the little guy that's on that poster back there, right there on the wall, and we changed all those scenes, and we took them and made that cartoon figure into Ennies. And so we call them Ennies. So our Enneagram has any types, and you can be anybody. And so it's just been it's something fun, it's creative. And that process came out while we were putting it all in Pointerpro and writing it all. And I will give my wife credit. She's the one that connected those dots on that. And then I have a great graphic designer that made it happen. So, and now it's going to be cool. It's cool because the whole workshop has these little characters in it, and the website's going to have those characters on the assessment page. And it's very much our own stuff. It was created from scratch. And so for us, we did not know any of that when we started the assessment process, but we had a clear, we knew we wanted to be creative. We knew we wanted to have something unique. And for us, we just needed to get started, because the biggest thing, and I'll say this, if you're wondering whether or not you should do an assessment, why don't you just do it? And then you can figure out, if you need clarity to know, like, you'll never know if you don't start. So go ahead and start the assessment. Go ahead and jump in there, see the templates, do the free trial, whatever it takes. Go ahead and start. See if you like it. See if you like building it, or if you like creating it. Either way, I think the biggest thing is that for us is that we had a general plan, that we knew the must-have things that we had to do, and then we just started. And we just started moving, and it's kind of been an iterative process for us.
All right. Oh, that sounds amazing. The Annies are super cute. We're going to actually take a look at your assessment right now. So we're going to just scroll, basically through it. I'm going to, randomly answer all of the questions. So yeah, don't mind that. And while I am taking this, let's just also, I had one question for you, Dallas. If you could also tell us a little bit more about the whole flow that you had. So it was on your website, right? So what
Yeah.
happened then? So when the respondent takes the assessment?
Oh, that's a great question. So this Pointerpro, another part about Pointerpro that makes it easy. So you'll see this is the beginning of the assessment right here. And on our website, all you have to do is you go to the Enneagram assessment page. In the new page, in about a week, you'll see a little button that says, I love the Enne, I'll take the assessment. And then it'll have a lot of description about what the Enneagram is below, have our little people on it and everything like that. And then you can take it at the bottom as well. But for those that already know they want to take the assessment, they can do it right at the top of the page. When you click that in our website, there's a button. We have a WordPress website. That button is integrated with a link, and that link goes directly to the assessment. So that page that just came up came right off our website. So the person, it's almost like it's a part of the website. In fact, you can see on her tabs at the top, you'll see Enneagram assessment at the top with our little logo. You see that little logo right here. And it's like you're still on our website, which is fantastic, by the way, because you're not going to Pointerpro's website. You're on ThinkMoveThrive's website, and you're just taking our assessment. And so that's been really good. So she's rolling through the assessment right now. Yeah. And man, I'm gonna be interested in what type you're gonna actually what type you're gonna get. You're going. I'm
taking this randomly, and if it's a bad type, it might not be true. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that you see, and just to actually make a note here about the whole flow of the assessment. As you can see, this really it's really smooth. I just click on the right answer option here. Dallas, why didn't you, for example, go with the slider?
So there's a lot of different. So let's talk about that for a second. As you see on the screen, the background totally customizable, 100% customizable. You can add images. The background's customizable. We like. I'm just personally, I like clean themes and things like that. Some people like it more like things happening. But we're very clean on all of our products. And so this is a very clean page. The size, the location, you can make the questions this side or that side or centered or whatever. The slider, you can see it going across the top. It can tell you by the number of slides or the percentage. You can make it where you have to click the button instead of, or you can just make it automatically. When you answer it, it just goes through. So all these aspects of the survey are all customizable, which I found to be very good. I like having it to be mine. I want it to be my assessment. And so you guys have done a great job making it very, very customized.
No, that's important to, have your brand speak for itself. So when you take the assessment, you know that you're taking, ThinkMoveThrive Enneagram assessment, and not just.
And we could add our logo in, all of that on this. We just chose to keep it clean, but if you want your logo in or things like that, color scheme, all the color scheme is chosen. We've chosen that. Oh, you're a number 9.
Oh, I don't know if I'm reading. I'm a peacemaker. Oh, it's a poet. Oh, that's so flattering. But look at this little guy. He looks amazing. I love it.
It's good. So now you see your score. So
right here.
So let's talk about this screen because it's important. We want to create for our clients or even prospective clients. We want to create value, and we want to offer that value whether or not they choose to pay. Some of our content is you have to pay to get, and other content we just want to provide free. This is one of those free things. Our podcast is one of those free things. They're just things that people can experience us. So this is a full breakdown of what the number 9 is. And it gives you in general. And then we wanted to also, because the Enneagram, because of the nature of the Enneagram, sometimes people will get there'll be a 9, an 8 or a 9, or a 9 and a 1, and they'll have these wings. And so sometimes if they're really close, they may have answered a question or something could go either way. So we like to say, okay, well, ask these questions and confirm that you agree with this answer. See, there you go. You're a type 8 and type 9. Well, you're just within a few points of each other. So maybe you, if you'd have went either way on one of those questions, you might be more of an 8 than a 9. But if you answer these questions here and you say, no, this confirms, if I answer it this way, then it confirms that I'm a 9. And you can kind of get a general idea of that. And it is also, I like, what you did on their screen. It totally, it's customizable as the screen changes size, it changes as well. So
yeah, you see, that looks great.
Totally good. So,
that's actually a great point, Alice, that you're giving something already to the respondent before they are, asked to download the full report, before they decide to pay for it. They are already, you spark their interest, right?
Yes,
so they want to go on and know more, and they appreciate the fact that you just share this information with them for free, and
100%.
you give back. So it's not like a one-sided task. You take the assessment, and then what do you get? Here it looks like a conversation with you, right? So you share your expertise, and it's automated, so you don't have to be there. And that people really appreciate that.
And here's another thought for you, and this is another reason we did this for free, right? So what I mentioned earlier is that we have this coaching app. This is a development coaching app. Well, one of the things in the app is on your personal profile, it lists all these attributes about the person that's being coached, the team member, and it may be their favorite morning beverage, mocha chocolate, whatever, from whatever coffee shop. It may be your favorite healthy snack or unhealthy snack, or your favorite restaurant. So it allows the coach to personalize a reward. If you make a commitment and you achieve that commitment, the coach can pull up your profile and say, ooh, I know Anna, she really likes these certain kind of chocolate bars. I'm going to get that to say thank you.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing for personalization and saying thanks in a personalized manner. Well, guess what? On that same profile, we've got spaces to enter in your different types of assessments, if it's a DISC assessment or an Enneagram or things like that, because it helps the coach. If I'm coaching you and I know that you're a number 9, then that gives me insight into how you'll manage conflict. Like we may be in a meeting and you not know how to manage that conflict, but if I know you're a number 9. So if I'm using the app, now my team member, they don't have to pay for this to know that they are a number 9. They can go and take the assessment for free, and then they can put that number 9 in there. So it helps our coaches. Now, if they want to purchase it to get the full report, it's totally there. But we want to support, again, not only people that's, inside our community, the team members and the coaches that download, the organizations that download our app. We want to make it available to everybody. And that's what this assessment is for.
No, that's great. No, really. And actually, the amount of information that you provide here, that's great. That's really generous. So, that's really cool. I mean, I'm now really actually interested in what number I am really.
You'll have to go back and take the assessment later, Anna.
We'll then see. Oh, maybe it's a good one. So, and it also has the number here. Oh, it looks amazing. Look at this. Beautiful. Yeah. So, and here, if I then click on download full report, that takes me to then there's a paywall, right? And
paywall, and then once you clear the paywall, then it opens up the download button. You download the report, and it drops in a PDF that has the full report of the
report looks great as well. The report's really pretty with all those little guys there.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at the back end of your assessment, so this looks this pretty on the front end. The back end is a little bit more complex, I would say. So here, I can see that we see all of the questions that you have in your assessment. So there are 36 questions. The intro screen right here. So what did you use the intro screen for, Dallas? So do you have it's like a welcome message here, and then some intro things?
It is. I mean, essentially with the intro, I mean, you're just providing, if I was using this for a marketing assessment, I would say, I would go ahead and tell you the benefits of taking this and why you need it. That's that call to action page. If I'm using it now, I'm going to describe the benefits of the Enneagram or what you're about to experience and why it's a good idea. But essentially, and if I'm using it for a consulting thing or some other thing where it's going to support a larger product, I'm just telling you that this is essentially it's introducing the person to whatever the experience they're about to have and the value that's associated with that experience is.
Mm-hmm. And you see that you're asking here for their first name and their email, and there's also an opt-in field right here. So that you're using it for your monthly newsletter, but
100%.
actually for Europe, which is pretty relevant, it can also be used for, GDPR compliance kind of thing.
100%. And this is great because all of those fields on the intro screen are, again, you can add another field. So if your business is collecting other information, whether it's a phone number or whether it's some type of job description or industry that you're associated with, you could gather whatever so for example, if you were using it as a lead generator and you needed a specific data point in that, you could go ahead and grab it before they even take the assessment in this field. So you can see, all these things you can do. Yeah. And I found that to be really
validation. Yeah, so actually then these emails, you can use them to send a follow-up email, after all of these fields have then their own variables that return whatever the respondent writes in here. So you can also personalize your report afterwards, personalize the assessment, right? So you can just use the name and in the end as well. So you could say like, Anna, you're number 9. And I hope it's a good one.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's really good. So, yeah. And I thought the questions, like, seeing the different types of questions, like you can see that I've got most of them are text choices, but you have so many different types of questions. So if you look on the left of the screen there, how many different types of just the type of question that you could ask.
Yeah, you can definitely mix them up or keep them all like this, like consistent, which is my preference. But for just to keep because your questions are all very they're so personal, and they are also worded in a very comprehensive way. It's easy to read. They're not too long. There's not too much text. So this is also an amazing way to word your questions, or just have statements just like here, because you have to agree or disagree. If you have longer questions, or if you have even like a longer questionnaire, but you use it as a lead gen to keep your respondents engaged, it's also a very good idea to mix up question types, to have an image choice, for example, together with the text choice and also with a slider. So you can just mix them all up. But here in your case, I think also from the design point of view and like for the consistency of the whole experience, that's a great choice that you opted for. For the text choice for all of the questions. And you could also use that auto skip that really made the assessment flow really smoothly.
Yes, we want that. For us, we had so many questions. We want
it's so fast. You don't even feel it, right? You don't like 36 questions, but it just like really flew on its own. So here, that's the, let me see here. Then on the final screen, so you see the final screen here is not, it is deactivated because you are not using the generic screen for everybody, right? It's not the general message. You have a personalized outcome at the end of the assessment.
So that was a functionality that I learned about after starting to build in terms of, and so I would offer this to your listeners. If you're just getting started building assessments and you're new to Pointerpro, I would recommend, if at all possible, if you see an assessment that's a template that you can customize, do it, because that's going to save you a ton of time in terms of figuring out what you want to do faster. But if you are like me and you're like, no, I want to do it, I have a very specific thing, I want to do it just this way, and then you may have to build it from scratch. And as you go through it, one of the things you'll do is like with outcomes. Let's talk about that for a second. With outcomes, we need to have a specific report that's generated based on the user outcome. It's not just based on each individual questions. It's actually an algorithm that summarizes how you answered the questions and the weight of those questions, and then takes that weight and then adds that report in. And so that gave us the ability to create the reports and then associate it with the type of with the outcome of the assessment. And I thought that was really good.
And that would make it really, really, personal, like individual. It's not like you're giving, just general information about all the types. No, you get just your type based on how much you scored, right? Because here, every question, so for now, we've set it all to 0, but there are several ways you can calculate the scores of your respondents. So here, Dallas, you're using, so basically you have all of those types, all of the any's, right? And each answer option has a certain number of points that then will be added to a specific category. So
Absolutely.
here basically have subscores, so categories, right? And the one that
Yes.
has that has more numbers and now more points in that one wins. That one is your
100%. Now that gets really tricky, and once you get into it, depending on the assessments, which we found out as well,
it can be tricky.
Yeah. It's tricky because what we're talking about is not Pointerpro at this point. We're talking about scoring and the algorithm that you use to score question answers, and depending on if you can have competing answers, or if two answers can tie, can you have a person that has two results, or no, it has to be one or the other. I mean, that just gets into a lot of the nuance of the questions, and most people may not even, depending on the scale and scope of the assessment, they may not even need, they may have a very clear, you might do a Likert scale and that's it, 1 to 5, and that's good enough. And if that's good enough for you, fantastic. We had to go a little bit more robust on ours to make sure we got the results.
It was but so you just didn't just go with the like overall score. This is not that type of an assessment, but you can always have the overall score, you can have the sub scores, you can have even answer options that contribute to several categories at the same time,
or weighted scores as well. So if one question is more heavily weighted to an answer, like if you answered a 5 on 2 different questions, but this question was more significant, you can weight that score as well. So it gets really, it gets your system. I like it because it's very simple, straightforward, easy to navigate, but it's very robust in the capabilities it lets you customize. And that's been I've been very impressed with that.
Oh, that's great to hear. No, that's great to hear. It can be a little bit tricky at the beginning, but we're always here to help, by the way. Right, so then as we talk about the scoring and like the way the questions are set up, did you have the scoring in mind beforehand, or did it did you change?
Yes, I did. I did have what I thought I wanted to do, and then after I ran the assessment in the demos and things like that, I was like, I want to do things differently. And so I just actually studied a lot on different ways of scoring this assessment and how we had set it up, and developed our own kind of scoring mechanism, which kind of came through it. This is what I like about the system, is that we started with what we knew and what we had in mind. And then once we built it, then we could look at the results, and you can test those and iterate those results as much as you want. And if it's not giving you the result, I mean, when we first put this out, we're going to get like friends and family that we knew already. We're like, hey, what are you on the Enneagram? Oh, you're a 6. Okay, take this Enneagram assessment, see if it comes out with a 6, because we're wanting to test that, and we want to get a bunch of test cases in to make sure that what we feel like was a pretty strong algorithm was a strong algorithm. And for the most part, some of the results that we were getting were correct, but we had some nuance that if there was people that got really close to 2 different scores, we wanted to make sure that we gave them a solid answer on that. So to break that out, we had to really get detailed on some of the ways we structured the weighting and stuff on the scale.
And also those, this approach with scoring. So, you get that many points for this answer option. It also removes, like the bias from the whole process. So it's the assessment, it gave you this this result. So there is a scoring mechanism behind it, right? It's not like it's not like having.
I would say, and we've had this conversation before about assessments, and one of the things that we're looking to move towards in kind of our 2.0 Pointerpro 2.0 for us, right, is what we're looking to work with you guys on is building. I have a much larger type of assessment that I want to build for companies that we partner with to help them develop and strengthen their culture and their operations and ultimately their performance. And so it's a much more robust assessment. But what I like about that is that when they take that assessment tells them what they need to work on. It's not me, it's the assessment. So when I put that assessment in front of someone and it says, here's the areas that you're weak in, I'm not going in and telling the client, hey, look, man, you are terrible at this and really bad at that and this, and I'm not the bad guy. I'm saying, hey, look, you said in the assessment, and the assessment generated that these are the areas you want to work on. Now we've anchored that, and I can go back as a consultant, and or get my team to go back as a consultant and work those specific areas. So for me, I think that's a really great tool for anyone in consulting specifically, because it really uses that as an anchor, and it takes you out of the equation. You might go in, and for example, if it's important for me too, because there's certain things I'm passionate about, right? And if it has to do with culture or strategy or systems, I'm all about it. But, I like process, but not at the level of like Six Sigma. Now I've got a friend of mine that's a part of our team, all about Six Sigma. Well, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So if I go into a client and I have a specific bent, like I just love Six Sigma, then I'm going to see all the problems with Six Sigma, but I might miss the forest for the trees, right? And so having an assessment that's more broad as a consultant, it gives you a better picture. It takes out your own bias and gives you a better picture of the full organization, so that you can engage with the client in a way that's meaningful to them, not just in a way that's meaningful to you. So I think that's a really good point.
No, true. This is absolutely true. And Dallas, by the way, so we are talking about how, amazing your assessment is. It's really pretty. And, you get this so much information out of it, and it's actually fun to take it. So that's also a great point. So, your assessment, especially if it's a lead gen, or, you want to represent your brand in a great way. It's important to make it engaging, and it's just like nice to look at. But what didn't work? Like when you were creating it, what felt wrong, or, you tested it out and was like, nah, it's not working.
What didn't work? So I would say, first of all, for us, just really understanding the final product was a big deal. And so when we first started, it's hard to build an assessment. And even with us, we knew that there's 9 types, so that helped us out. But even still, evaluating those questions and what questions that you're using, and then the weight of those questions. I think for us, one of the things that didn't work was I had a scoring weight on the questions, but actually fitting that into the system and doing it in a way that produced the result that would give you a single result, a singularity, instead of tying or anything like that. Because what we had was some people would go in, and it's fascinating, by the way, when you start looking at the results, because see, most time when you have an assessment, if you're looking for a lead generation, I mean, you're not looking. People may not even look at that result. They're looking at the lead. Like the lead comes in, and you go, I got an email. Okay, I'm going to send the email out. You don't ever go back and look at this stuff. What does it matter? Unless you're doing it for something that if you're doing it for consulting, you might look at it. But for the Enneagram assessment, if you go on and purchase an Enneagram assessment, chances are I'm never going to look at that. I don't have time to look. However, we do that through workshops. And so we're engaging with the individuals for, a full day of workshops on Enneagram. Well, then you are getting into the answers of those Enneagram assessments. And so then you have a coach that pulls up those, and you see that somebody's answered 4 across the board. And it's like, I mean, really, like, come on, man. You're a 4, every single personality type. And so you've got to be able to break through some people, and some people will answer like, the negative. So just depending on if the glass is half full, if the glass is half empty, if they had breakfast or not. I mean, who knows what, but you start seeing how irrational some people are at taking an assessment. And so what I learned through the process of developing this and then seeing the results over a period of time was how we could really hone in on making that assessment where it would overcome some of those imbalances of people's essentially irrationality in terms of taking an assessment. So I think we've done a pretty good job. We've gotten it a lot more dialed in now, and I feel really good about it. But But yeah, that's kind of what worked, what didn't. I think for the main part is really too, it's like you made a comment, this is people getting started. I would say the platform is robust. So if you're going to build if you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have all these options that you can use to build an assessment and just, be like, oh, I'm just going to click one button and it's going to be done. So I had no experience with Pointerpro and no experience building assessment, totally built this from scratch. We did not use a template. We built this from the ground up, and it is awesome. Took me a while to do it. Took a little bit of time. But now I feel like, I wouldn't say I'm a Pointerpro wizard or anything, but like I'm definitely I'm definitely more aware now, right? And so here's what I would say. If anybody's thinking about this, jump in and use a template and mess around. I break stuff in templates. I was screwing stuff up in the first template, but I was understanding how the system worked and how things. So yeah, and then you can move off the template if you need to. And so so if you get in early on and you feel overwhelmed, number one, talk to the support team because they're there to help. And that really was helpful for me. Number two, spend some time in that help section. Yeah, talk to Anna. Instant message Anna. She's on call 24 hours a day on the weekend. She's ready. Take your call. And
I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna nod. So
and then ultimately, just spend time in it, and build what you want to build, and you'll run into the questions and you'll run into the roadblocks that you can't get over, and that's when they're there to help you out. So that's been my experience.
But Dallas, how long do you think it would take you now if you were to create your assessment now from scratch?
I could create the assessment that you just saw in 1/10 of the time that it took me to do that one easily, without question. I could do it. I could do that from scratch pretty quickly now. Yeah, okay. I would feel comfortable. And that's why I feel really comfortable looking at the larger kind of assessment. It's going to be a little bit more, beefy and a little bit more of a heavy lift. I feel more comfortable doing that because I started small. And that's another thing. You don't have to do this if you're working with Pointerpro. You don't have to go and eat the elephant all in one bite. Go and do a small assessment. Maybe start with a marketing assessment, 7 questions or whatever, 10 questions or less. And put that together. Feel good about that. Integrate it with your website. Take the link and put it in an email and just get used to it and then add on from there. That's what we're doing. We started with the assessment with the Enneagram, and then we're building out from there, kind of both directions. We may have some that's marketing. We may have some that's more consulting. So yeah, you don't have to do it all at once.
All right. No, that sounds great. And I'm also really curious what any you are, but we have a question from Joel here. He's asking if we could see the full setup of the report. Well, that is actually going to be in our next webinar will be dedicated completely to the report creation. But Dallas, if you could tell us just what do you have in the report? What does the respondent get?
Yeah. So
just so it's a bit more connected to the setup of the assessment and the report, do you use the exact answers on questions, or do you just use the outcome of the assessment?
Yes, that's great. That's a great question. And yes, I don't mind talking about that. So first of all, I think that for our assessment and the report that goes with it on this particular one, I like the Enneagram because of the way it's structured. It's more of a motivation and drivers and fear-based, like what motivates you, versus an extrovert or an introvert, your exterior, characteristics. So our report is based on really diving into what a number would be. So we spent time on the individual numbers and then how that relates in your personal life and in the team setting. So you're getting, your strength. And if you are, and I'm a number 7. So anybody I'm a number 7.
Here's the truth.
That's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. I'm a number 7, right down the middle. And so for me, we're getting strengths and weaknesses of a number 7. When you're healthy and unhealthy, when you're stressed or secure. So you're starting to see the external, like what that would show up as, because a healthy number 7 is going to look this way. And an unhealthy number 7 that's stressed is going to look like this. And so you have these different things that show up. And so you can start peeling the onion a little bit and getting to it. So ours is based on an outcome. So what I do like about Pointerpro is you can go either way. So you can associate a question with a response. And that is one way to do it, so that if I answer a 5, which is like high on this particular question, it would go ahead and slide this information in to that. But I know you're going to talk about that on the report setup. But for me, I was outcome based. And so I said, if your outcome generated that you were the highest on a number 7, this is the report that you will be delivered on for number 7. So yeah, you can see that's the outcome.
So here, this is actually what it looks like, and pretty much it looks the same kind of in the report. So you see here, you would get any number 1 if, and we only show this final screen to a respondent if they meet this condition. So if their formulas, those calculations, those categories that we created when we have already appointed, assigned the points to answer options, if that formula is greater than all the other formulas, right? So if that category got the most points, then this is your outcome. And then the report pulls that information. So the report and the assessment, they are connected, of course. And then the report can be, all of the, conditional content can be just based on the outcome. So you can even just not use a specific calculation, but the whole outcome, which is actually, it was pretty easy, right? So it's kind of an easy workaround here. Well, you have to do a lot of work here, because every outcome first needs to be, you need to set this condition here first, and you see how many formulas Dallas is using here.
Took a little bit of time on this, but
so it looks amazing.
What I would say is too, if you scroll back up to that, you'll see how the little any person is offset to the left. And this is just in the workspace. So sometimes in the workspace, it shows up exactly, but with images, it may not show exactly like what it's going to say. So the great thing is you've got a preview screen. She sees that little preview button up there. You can see exactly how that's going to look. And you don't have to go through the whole assessment to see this preview screen. And that's great, because as I iterate on that page, I can go boop preview and jump back and forth. You can make that shortens your time a great deal when you're building this. And so also,
the questions, right? So you can see every screen like this just by previewing it. So especially when you're just adjusting the design, the fonts, colors, and so on. And by just clicking on preview, you can see the whole thing from the first question to the last one. But for example, in Dallas's case here, you have like 36 questions. So if you wanted to see the 33rd one, it would have taken you some time. Yeah, so you would just click on preview right here. So from design point of view,
it makes it helpful from a design standpoint. That way you can see each page, and then once you want to just see the whole flow together, you can go through the thing. But for us, that was how we did it. And also what I would say, and you guys have been really good about this, I'm not a coder, but I know enough. I'll try to copy and paste some HTML every once in a while. So on those images, I wanted the image to be a certain way on that screen and a certain size. And I could go in and on those demo pages, you can go in and there's a code view where you can go in and custom code. And if that's your jam and you're a coder, or somebody who's a coder, then that's great. But if you're not, then Anna and the team at Pointerpro have been very open and say, look, you just tell us what you want, and we can go and set up a plan to make that happen for you. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, we can always help with pretty much anything. All your wild ideas.
All those wild and crazy ideas. That's right.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions for Dallas, we have some minutes left yet. Anything business related as well. So Dallas, do you have any other? I have a question. Apart from which any you are. So do you are you planning on creating any other assessments with Pointerpro?
Yes. So I've actually started getting the data together. You can see the whiteboard in the back. I'm a whiteboard fanatic. That and sticky notes I love.
That's a good point. Before creating your assessment, just write it all out.
Oh yeah.
On the whiteboard, right?
Yeah, lay it out. If you've got a flow or you're trying to think through some things, any type of flow like that, I'm a whiteboard freak. And so I'm definitely on the whiteboard quite a bit. I just like to visualize. And it usually goes from the whiteboard to like an Excel. So it was on the whiteboard way long time before it was ever on Excel, just because I wanted to kind of get kind of what we were thinking through. But yeah, like we're wanting to, I have an assessment that I want to build that's more of an organizational assessment for organizational owners and leaders. And it's more holistic. So it's going to look at 7 dimensions of an organization, or through 7 different lenses. And each of those lenses is going to kind of point out some things that hopefully we can engage them to improve. And that's going to be part of a larger program that we actually call the program. And it'd be something that we can get business leaders together to and go through. So we've seen a lot of success in companies that we've engaged with on a one-on-one basis, but we'd like to do that in more of a team atmosphere, not kind of like a mastermind group on steroids, but like maybe like a couple year mastermind type group that we would use, and we would use this assessment as the basis to launch that and get that information from them to know where to work. So yeah, that's what's on the docket. Maybe 2023. That might take a little time.
Yeah. Oh, looking forward to working with you again.
We'll be working together again on
this. Oh, well, that's a long-term commitment.
That's right.
That's always fun. I mean, your ideas are great and they all sound amazing. So we're really looking forward to it. Just, let us know when you need help. So thank you so much, Dallas. That's been really informative, useful, very fun. So I had fun.
I had fun. Yeah, this is great.
And your assessment is really like an example of a great, it can be anything, right? It's a great lead generation assessment. It's a great assessment to, have your team take, your individual respondents as well. So yeah, that's a really great example from design point of view, or also the setup. Great job, Dallas.
Thank you. Great job, Anna. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Sure. No, that's been amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, we'll talk about reports in our next webinar, right? So stay tuned. All right. Have a great day, Dallas. Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.